Welcome back to Sunday Vibes, one and all. We're back in the pub here to answer your burning questions. Me, Chris and Pat, all back. The first question was sent in, I don't know why I said it like that. First question was sent in by Don Copley one. Don Coppel one, something like that. Should Jordan Henderson...
Corleone, as in like Don Corleone, but yeah,
yes.
But the cop.
Good handle. I always get rinsed for not getting the handles right, so Pato nailed that one. Should Jordan Henderson really win this season's Player of the Year award? Lots of chat about Jordan Henderson winning the PFA Player of the Year award, and he is currently favourites with the bookmakers at around evens, 11 to 10 favourite to win it.
I'd say
justified.
He's more of a favourite amongst the journalists and the press at large, as opposed to fans, right? I think he would make most people's top 10. And he has been very good this season.
Yeah.
Not Pato's top 10, saw the eyebrow raise in the peripheral vision.
Not in your top 10.
No. But I don't know in what world he beats out KDB or Trent Alexander-Arnold this season. Now, Trent's probably going to win Young Player of the Year, isn't he? Mm-hmm. So he probably will miss out on the senior gong, despite being in the top 3 candidates. Maybe we should do our top 5s as a starting point for this then. Does Henderson even make your top 5?
No. I think actually at Liverpool, the midfielders are the last people I'd go to for this award, because I think Klopp's actually built a system where the midfielders are required to do much more limited roles than I think other people. Like, he's built a system where all the ball progression and creation comes from the fullbacks. The attackers are obviously elite. The defence has been amazing because Van Dijk is the outstanding centre-back, but actually, if you look at the stats, you can see that it's actually the other side of their defence where they've been even tighter when it comes to conceding shots. And then both keepers actually who played for them this season have been great. Like, midfield is the area where I kind of think, I think Klopp's built a system where you can have quite a limited player in there and they can do quite a pretty decent job.
Yeah, but they're the enablers. Don't you give them credit for being elite enablers, so to speak?
What does that mean though? What are they elite at? Like,
well, I think Henderson, his match intelligence this season has been noticeably higher. I think when Trent goes forward and Robertson goes forward, he is the one that fills in at right back or left back, or particularly when Fabinho's not playing. I know he's played the majority of his football on the right-hand side of a 4-3-3, but I think he plugs the gaps that enables the flair players to really shine. And maybe people just want to give, in the same sense that Luka Modric got the Ballon d'Or, maybe people just want to shed a little bit more light on that side of the game, which I'm not completely against.
Yeah, but that to me again is
like it,
that to me again is coaching. Like, I mean, like you say, okay, when this guy goes into this position, you cover that position. Like, I think that's something we see with all clubs. Like it's something you'd see with like Burnley or with like Pulisic.
But it's much more demanding at Liverpool, right? Because they are so judicious with, swapping positions and being really fluid on the pitch.
Why is it more? Why I don't think they are that fluid on the pitch, but I don't see why it's more demanding at Liverpool when you have like elite players around you. Like, I think it's actually less demanding. You have more of the ball, and you have more cover from your front 3 who are pressing. You have an amazing centre-back to help you out, at least one. You have an elite goalkeeper as well. Like, and it's not like Trent and Robertson are doing no defending. Like, they're getting forward to do ball progression, but they are still defending quite a bit. Like, fundamentally, those midfielders are not really doing much creative stuff. They're defending a little bit. They get on the ball a reasonable amount. What they mainly are there to do is never lose the ball. And they don't tend to lose the ball because they're quite conservative. That's true of Wijnaldum, like it's certainly true of Henderson as well. Like, I think he's been good.
Henderson's actually completed the 7th most passes into the final third this season for a midfielder.
But I think
so
that's
it's not
partially
being conservative, is it?
But that can be conservative. Like, you can easily complete a lot of passes. Like, for instance, the guy leading the Premier League in passes into the final third is Kyle Walker. It's not because he's playing like defence-splitting passes. It's because that's just how they advance the ball, and because they have so much possession. Quite often, you're just passing it into the final third again and again and again.
But the sideways pass narrative is,
I don't think
is overcooked with Jordan Henderson, and I'd say like it's more impressive completing those passes into the final third. Obviously, it helps when you've got people like Firmino picking it up, finding the spaces. It's more impressive when you're finding those passes when you are heavily relied on to fill in defensively, and when your fullbacks have the average starting positions or match positions of midfielders.
I think I'd just say I'd look at 5 or 6 Liverpool players before I got to Henderson. But I think really the question is what your criterion is for picking this guy. Like, so do you pick the person who's reached the highest level this season, in which case I think it's De Bruyne, no questions asked. Like, I don't think anybody's got close to the level that he's reached this season. Or is it somebody who's had, say, the most impact? Because in that case, I think you can make a really compelling case for I don't know, like if Villa stay up, you can make a compelling case for Grealish, though he's clearly not the best player in the league. Like if you can make a compelling case for Vardy. Like,
Yeah.
I think you can make reasonable arguments there about somebody who's the difference maker.
We'd rather have
I'd
that
much
be the
rather
criteria,
make that argument,
wouldn't we?
Yeah.
Than you know. Remember Luis Suarez beating out Yaya Toure? We speak about it off camera, weren't we? Because he had an unbelievable goal-scoring season. That tends to be the way it goes, doesn't it? The outstanding goal contributor, and KDB has done that, and he's also creating 4 chances a game this season.
If KDB ends up with 20 plus assists and 10 plus goals,
What's he on at the moment?
he's on
8 goals,
15
assists.
Yeah. So if he ends up on 10 and 20,
Because he breaks the record.
he has
for
he
assists.
has to win it, I think.
But also, it's one of those things where, like, you take De Bruyne out of that team and you put somebody else in, and you see a massive drop off in that creativity. Whereas I think you take Henderson out of Liverpool, you put in like an average central midfielder, and I don't actually think you see that big a drop off. I think that if he hadn't been available all season, but all the rest of their midfielders have been, they'd have been absolutely fine. Like, whereas I think that without De Bruyne, like, you lose so much. He just does things nobody else can do. Henderson doesn't do anything that nobody else can do.
I think
That
Henderson.
doesn't mean he doesn't do it well, but
Henderson,
okay.
for me, he would be up there for the one of the most improved, though. I think
Sure,
he's got
yeah.
so much better this season. I
this
don't know
isn't
whether.
a criticism of Henderson.
Yeah,
so much
I think
as
he would be up. He'd
He's
be in my top.
He's pretty complete, isn't he?
Yeah, I think he'd probably be in my top 5. I think he'd probably be in my top 5. I think Kevin De Bruyne, as an individual, is probably the best player in the league and has been across the course of this season. I think 7 of the last 10 winners of the PFA Player of the Year award have come from teams that didn't win the league. Individual stars, and like you can look back and name plenty of them, and I think KDB is the prime example of that. Liverpool are just an outstanding unit, aren't they? KDB is kind of dragging City along at some stage this season. The defence has been a total shambles, and KDB has got them out of a lot of problems going forward. Whereas I think Henderson is just so cohesive. He's such a team player. I think I would have him in my top 5, but like Pat, I don't think he's been the best player at Liverpool. I actually think Sadio Mane stands a really good chance of winning it this season.
I think Trent does as well.
If he gets, let's say I don't think he's going to finish as top goal scorer, because I think that'll probably end up being Sergio Aguero if he stays fit. Because is Vardy still injured at the moment? Is he back?
He's back. He played in the League Cup game, but he's still only about 80%.
But I think that he had such a purple patch, Vardy, didn't he? What, did he go 9 games in a row where he's scoring goals? I don't think he'll replicate that through the second half of the season. Whereas I think Sadio Mane just continues to pick up goals. Him and Salah will be very close.
Yeah.
And the debate at the start of the season, I think Mane was winning between him and Salah as to who's more important. And I still think he is the better player and more important. I think if you ask Liverpool fans at home, who would they rather lose? They'd rather lose Salah.
But I think that's like just about their connection to Mane as opposed to necessarily like Mane being better. I think
Really? I think
actually
Mane's a better player.
I enjoy Mane more, but I think Salah's actually quite a lot better. Like, I completely. It's more, the thing is about this award is it always ends up being about narrative. Like, it always ends up being like, okay, we've decided that it should be this guy now, and then that grows over the course of the season.
Yeah.
And
that's
so-
why it's in Hendo's favour, because the
Yeah,
narrative is
the-
growing
yes,
quickly.
exactly.
The confirmation bias. I do think I think Salah's probably a better player than Mane, but I do think Mane's been more important to Liverpool for larger stretches of the season. Certainly like the first 3-4 months, right?
Yeah.
But Salah's definitely narrowed that gap recently, and Salah's got. Is it Mane on 16 goal contributions, Salah on 20 at the time of recording? So that wasn't the case before the last month, was it? Salah's had
shuts up,
a really
yeah.
good
Salah always has
period.
better numbers.
Yeah.
They always just tick up without you really noticing. He just scores constantly.
Yeah, but I think if we just take it back to Jordan Henderson, obviously him winning England's Player of the Year in the men's category, I think that helps his narrative in the press
Fuels
as
the
well.
fire, yeah.
Fuels the fire behind the scenes. And I think if Trent does win the Young Player of the Year, he was probably battling with maybe Marcus Rashford pre-injury. What was Rashford on? 14 goals, 4
Does
assists.
Rashford still qualify? Is he under 23?
Yeah,
He's 21, isn't he? At the moment,
Is
I
he?
think.
No, I
Rashford.
think he
No,
might
he
be
turned
22.
22 last
Yeah,
week,
22,
actually, yeah.
right.
So I think he just qualifies, but that back injury probably means he's not going to win
Yeah,
it. So
sure.
Trent will walk away with that.
And Tammy's drop off.
And behind him, I think Henderson probably has been the outstanding English player.
English player, sure.
English player.
I don't know.
Jack
I
Grealish,
think,
I
I think
love.
Grealish has been better. I think Vardy has been better.
Really, than
Vardy,
Hendo?
yeah.
Yes.
Like Jamie Vardy he's having an Indian summer, isn't it? This, in terms of shots per game, in terms of chances created, this is his second best season after 15-16. And it will be really interesting to see if he does have a stark drop-off because of that hamstring injury. Maybe not, with James Maddison and Harvey Barnes behind him. And James Maddison's really dropped off since the start of the season, hasn't he? He could have been a candidate for young player as well, if it sort of sustained his numbers. English player, yeah, top 3 for sure. But you put Hendo in your top 5, you wouldn't.
I would have Henderson in my top
No
5.
way.
Senior.
Let's go for our
Top
top
player.
5s then. Number 1, are we all saying KDB should probably win the award?
I think it's pretty unanimous. KDB, like his numbers this season staggering. I think his record goals is 9 at City, isn't it? And his record assists is 18, sorry, and he's on 8 and 15. So he's set to have his best season for City in both departments if he carries on. Those levels absolutely kind of unprecedented. So yeah.
Can you win the young and the main player of the year? You
Yeah,
can.
you can.
I think Gareth Bale did do
Yeah,
it one
I
year?
think
I
so.
think he might well have done. So I think Trent is very close to doing that. I think Trent potentially is my number 2.
So Trent, I would also go Trent too.
I think a few weeks ago I said Sadio Mane, I think should have won it. Now my narrative has changed. I've bottled it. I've put in Sadio Mane at 3.
Christ, if Fernandinho, I'm trying to think of the top players at the top clubs. If Fernandinho had stayed injury free, I think he'd be in my top 5. Just the impact he has on that City side is absolutely phenomenal, from centre half or not. Number 3 is a little bit more interesting. This is where we might disagree. I would have said Sadio Mane.
Yeah,
but
Sadio.
I think Salah's going to finish in 3rd position. I think he's in the ascendancy.
Pato 3?
I don't know, man.
Or would you even have Trent at 2?
Probably.
Just.
But Trent's a weird one because like Trent as well, like you can make the argument that you're like Liverpool have created a system that basically covers for his deficiencies to allow him to do the things that he's truly remarkable at. But the things that he's good at are so weird and rare for a forward. Like he genuinely does. He is just like David Beckham.
Yeah.
He's exactly like David Beckham. Like there's so little difference actually in their game. It's kind of staggering. I don't know. Yeah, he's just so weird. Like he to me is the player that I've looked at Liverpool this season and just been like kind of amazed by stuff he does. But I also do just think that probably forwards are more important than fullbacks. Like he's an amazing passer from fullback. Is he more important to Liverpool than Mane and Salah? Probably not. The way they play at the moment, they've made him more important. But if he was injured, I reckon that they could just change the way they play and be fine.
Really? I think
They wouldn't be as good, but they'd be fine. Like but that front 3 to me is the absolute cornerstone of their success. But
Okay, so
God, I don't know, man. Like maybe I go Salah too.
City have adjusted in different positions. Just to go back to that kind of whole conversation about adjusting your system to get the best out of certain players. Like it feels like KDB is a less, I don't want to say complete, but I'm going to say it anyway, a less complete version of KDB. It's certainly more deadly.
Than like 2 seasons ago or something. Yeah.
It's certainly
But do you
like
think that's because Pep's using him in that sort of wide
It's-
right midfield?
Yeah, it's
right?
a more deadly KDB for sure, but he's kind of occupying the same positions as Trent, isn't it? It's really interesting that like Mahrez is doing all the progression down that right hand side and then giving it to KDB to do all the damage. And in that kind of square, that quadrant, that's where Trent does all of his damage too. So there's an element to kind of enabling KDB as well at City.
Yeah, I think KDB and Trent have started to pick up similar sort of areas though. On that right-hand side, coming infield about 40 yards from goal,
to the back
and that
six
whipped
as well is
ball,
really,
and
really
the flat
similar.
one.
Reece James is doing it as
KDB's
well,
like
isn't it?
speciality of like the flat one that stays about 3 inches off the floor. Like 4 key passes a game is outrageous.
Yeah.
So
it's like
only
almost
Buendia is
unprecedented.
close on 3.5. Do you know who's the only player to register more in Europe's top 5 leagues per night?
What, this season?
Yeah.
Payet was above that.
Demi Payet. That's crazy, isn't it? He must be killing it over
I
in
remember
France.
Ozil doing like 4.2 in his best season.
Yeah.
And Fabregas, I think, might have done something similar, but like it's really rare.
And
to
he's
get
become
over
like unmarkable because when he pulls out there, the fullback doesn't know whether to come to him or stick with Walker. The centre back can't come out there, and if the centre mid comes out, then there's just a gaping hole for like a
It
David
just
Silva.
highlights the importance in the Premier League of that. That player that operates in between those lines. It's just become more important than ever, hasn't it? That kind of inverted winger.
So
kind of
who are you going to go
rogue
for?
He is
playmaker.
less fun though. Like
Because
because
I love watching KDB play now.
But I do think he was a little bit more fun 2 years ago because I think often like midfielders, when they have a bit more chaos around them, they're a bit more exciting. It's a little bit like they've discovered like a FIFA glitch and they're like, let's do this again and again.
Yeah.
He's amazing at it. And you're like, yeah, fair enough. Like he is amazing at it and he deserves credit for that. But I almost prefer it when it's just like, no, he just bursts through the midfield, does something outrageous.
Yeah, I think there's less of him dragging City through. Like a couple of years ago, he had that kind of Gerrard-y thing about him, didn't he? Where he could play, he'd pick it up from deep, he'd surge through midfield, he'd the ball top bins.
And when he said,
just
I've been working on my left foot in the off-season and came into the season and scored like 3 unbelievable
The one against Chelsea in
goals.
particular.
It's outrageous.
the one against
Like,
Newcastle
okay,
this
fair
season
enough,
wasn't bad, was it? But
So who you saying it to then? You got to pick a name. If we're all saying KDB at 1, me and Chris are saying Trent at 2.
I'll go. Yeah, I'll go Trent. Why not?
Okay, so Trent at 2. Then I presume, is it going to be between Salah and Mane in that 3rd and 4th slot? Are we going to throw in a Vardy, a Grealish potentially?
I do think some of those players who've like achieved stuff in a limited side deserve credit.
Yeah.
Like I think, to be fair to Vardy, his whole system is built around getting him these amazing chances.
Yeah.
Whereas like Villa, it's like Villa would be relegated, no questions asked, without Grealish. The same, I think you could actually make the same argument about like Arsenal. Think how bad Arsenal have been, and look how many goals Aubameyang's got. How's he done that in such a terrible side?
Yeah.
Like I often think I want to give credit to people who've done something like that.
yeah, for Grealish to create 50 chances from open play at this point of the season in that side,
And
is
you can tell
phenomenal.
They
Dean
are
Smith
quite
just goes,
fantastic.
go on, Jack.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't have a position, does he? He's playing right wing, left wing, centre mid, attacking mid, up front.
On the other hand, has he been one of the 5 best players in the league? I'd say no, nowhere close. Like he's been good, but
Yeah, and he's not been very complete.
Impactful.
Yeah, he's not been very complete, has he? Like his defensive work can be non-existent at times, but in that final third, like he's clutch, isn't it?
and they are a team that like sells out, like leaves their defence basically in order to create chances. Like they are the best attacking side in the bottom half of the league, I think. And it's because they do just like kind of say, okay, we can't defend, but we will outscore teams.
But the one beauty of Jack Grealish is that he may not put in the most defensive work, but he gets his team out of defensive problems all the time. When the ball is hit into him 25 yards from goal,
And you can make
2 men round him, you can guarantee he wins the foul.
You could make the same argument about Buendia as well. And actually, Buendia, I think, he's very clearly got a higher ceiling, right?
Yeah.
Because this is Grealish. Grealish is 24 now. This is the player he's going to be. And that's a really good thing to be. He'll probably improve a tiny bit. But Buendia is 22 and is playing at a pretty similar level.
I could really see
And I
when
think
they're at Liverpool, man.
Buendia could just be a star, I think. Like genuinely a superstar.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to put him in like the top 5 players.
So we're not going to put Grealish in there either?
He's a contender, though.
If
They stay up.
top 10, I think probably
drag
top
them to
10,
safety.
15, pretty nailed on.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah,
but
if-
not top 5. I would agree. I think I'll go Mane at 3.
But we're basically down to 5th, right? Like we're all saying that between 2 and 4, we're going like some combination of Trent, Mane, Salah.
Yeah.
So now we're at 5th.
Okay.
Like 5th place.
So this
5th
is where
place is hard.
this is where Henderson, Van Dijk, Alisson, Robertson, Bobby Firmino. I think it's got to be a Liverpool player.
Why?
God, if Riyad Mahrez
Because
is a
I
bit more
just think
consistent.
that Jamie Vardy, as good as he's been, hasn't been as good as any of the Liverpool front three.
Sure, but I think at the same time, like, are we going to pretend that like we all know that Liverpool's defence is not as good as it's looked this season, like in results.
I think Virgil was not as good as he was last year.
It was clearly better last year.
Yeah.
But Virgil isn't as good this year as he was last year, but he's still comfortably the best defender in the league.
Yeah,
right?
by
Like,
mile.
so it's
Bizarrely,
it's
they could
difficult,
top
right?
that as well, right? They've only conceded 15 this season. They conceded 22 last season.
Yeah, but I mean, last season they were a little bit lucky. Last season, this season, you look at them and you're kind of like, I mean, just nothing's going in.
They've
Like,
had to be a
it's
bit more
weird.
gung-ho, I suppose, in like the last 15, 20 minutes of games, haven't they? Because they've had to grind out results. But
I'm trying to think of some other ones. It's annoying you can't really select anyone from Sheffield United because they're just bumbling along as a team. They're like Liverpool light, very, very light, in that it's hard to pick out one individual
Yeah.
superstar.
as in the system
The system's working. Chris Wilder.
doesn't require any individual to really, really excel.
And
because
he's
it's
slightly
an excellent
unfortunate
system,
that Klopp
but-
is going to win Manager of the Year comfortably because
Yeah,
he would be a very,
he's
very
more
strong
unfortunate
candidate.
than any of his players.
He
Yeah,
really
he would be a
Yeah.
very strong candidate to win the Manager of the Year award.
There are a lot of guys as well who, if they just stayed fit all season, we'd be talking about them. Like I think the form Rashford was in when he got injured, Abraham before his little drop off. If Pulisic had played all season, like he was on an unbelievable tear at one stage. Like there were lots of guys there who are like, if they carried on through the rest of the season, we would have to talk about them here.
Well, you'd go to Leicester for
Son
other
as well,
outstanding
so-
candidates, wouldn't you, for the top 5? Not the top dogs, but I think Johnny Evans has had an excellent, excellent season at Leicester. He's been superb in every single game I've watched. Does that mean he makes the top 10 in this scenario? Probably not.
I'd be more inclined to put Ndidi in if I had to choose somebody from Leicester who wasn't
Injury,
Vardy.
again, injury might cost
But
him.
But when
he
you
only
when you
missed,
watch
like,
Leicester
4
without
games.
when you watch Leicester without Ndidi, you're like, wow, the work Ndidi
When
does.
Ndidi was out, they were horrific. Like 3 games running, they gave up tons of shots. So I think like To me, I think you could take Evans out, and I still think the defence is pretty good. Or is it you take Ndidi out, and I do think things fall apart a little bit.
I don't think his effort should be discounted because he's not as good as Ndidi. Because I do think Ndidi should be at a club like Manchester United at the moment. Like I think he would be a player that would fix a lot of your problems. But that's another hypothetical. But Leicester have only got like 2 or 3 Champions League components, and there's maybe some other players that are overperforming, right?
Yeah.
Like Vardy and Ndidi. Maybe Johnny Evans, maybe James Maddison.
Yeah, James Maddison's an interesting one because, yes, I think he's probably the man to start for England at the Euros in that more advanced midfield role. And I think he's definitely got better, but I think he's being slightly overrated in terms of like his value. Like I saw some stuff the other day, like 110 million Leicester won.
Oh, sure.
I don't think he's a 110 million pound player right now, James Maddison. I think he's an outstanding creator, but if a Buendia is available for like 30 or 40, or a Grealish is available for a 40, 50, then I just don't. The disparity is not 50 million between those players.
People are keying on to James Maddison at the moment, and he's finding it quite difficult in games to make the same impact because he is being marked. And you've seen him for Leicester like drop really, really deep later on in the game to pick up the ball, and as a result, Harvey Barnes is having a little resurgence. He's getting a little bit more credit, isn't it?
That miss against Chelsea was absolutely
absolutely harrowing. But we'll forgive him for that because he's superb against West Ham in the game before. But
okay,
I don't think people.
Fifth position. I think I'm going to give it Henderson.
No.
Okay. I'm going to give it Henderson as well.
Hello.
I'm going Henderson 5.
I'd be more inclined to put in Robertson or even Son, maybe.
Son, that's an interesting shout. Son out of the blue.
When Son's good though, he's genuinely unplayable. When Henderson's good, he's exceptionally playable. Like, I don't know, man. Like, I think it's difficult. I haven't actually looked at people's like goal and assist numbers recently, and sometimes you do just think like, oh, when did that guy score like 14 goals? Like Danny Ings, you know?
Oh, here's a shout by the way. Big Daniel, not the worst shout.
He's absolutely superb against Tottenham. Southampton really impressive in that game, and we've kind of been. We've backed them to come good, haven't we? And I think they have. And do you know, one thing that really annoyed me in that game was the commentator saying that, I think it was when Sessegnon got beyond Son, and he was saying, you don't see midfielders get beyond centre forwards these days. Rattled me in the comments, absolutely rattled
Especially
me.
because Sessegnon's not a midfielder.
That's literally all that happens now as well. You have like 5 of the top 10 goal scorers in the Premier League at the moment aren't number 9s, are they?
I think.
Well, why do you think Sessegnon's a midfielder? Like, he's a winger. Wingers run beyond foot. That's
Mate,
just an idiot.
If he's referring to like central midfielders in like an old 4-4-2, then no, that doesn't happen because teams play 4-3-3 now. You've got one central midfielder who's not going to go beyond the winger.
Kind of happens at Villa, right? It's just like if you watch Villa this season, like everybody in midfield is constantly running beyond when it was Wesley.
Yeah, but it is also just pass the ball to Jack and hope he can just produce a miracle.
But it wasn't just that. Like earlier in the season, like that did start to kick off like as we got towards Christmas. Like before that, they were playing like balls to Wesley, who was like doing incredible hold-up work, and then like McGinn was going beyond.
But I think the best teams are doing that, like exclusively. Like Lacazette is always mega deep, although George thinks he's now the worst player in the Premier League. Firmino, Sergio Aguero is deeper than we've kind of ever seen. Like David Silva always gets beyond Sergio Aguero. You know, KDB always gets beyond Sergio Aguero. Just to touch upon that briefly, it just pissed me off a little bit.
Yeah, I think Danny Ings is a candidate, by the way. Having a freak season, a totally freak season. If he finishes on 18 goals,
it's not. I don't think it's freak. I think it's thoroughly deserved.
Whenever he's
I would say it's freak because of his injury record, though.
Okay, sure.
Would you this season? You would never have said Danny Ings will score 20 goals, and he's very, very capable.
But I'd say he'd stood a decent chance at Southampton, who generate a decent amount of chances of scoring between like 12 and 14.
All right, I wouldn't have said that given his injury record. I just didn't think he was ever going to hit that 10 goals.
Injury free,
which he has done really.
Which is great.
Plaudits to the Southampton physios, whoever they are. But who's our fifth then? Are we going to select one? Mine's Henderson. You're going to have to select yours.
God, I can't stand him, but I'd probably put Vardy in. Vardy or
okay.
Vardy, 5. Okay, so we're saying KDB
He's
should
the
win
top
the
scorer
PFA
in the
Player.
league, Vardy. Like, I think if you're the top scorer in the league, you probably should be in the top 5.
But we're already in start of February.
But he's also playing for Leicester, who are not Liverpool and they're not City.
But they are flying.
Like, why has he got more? Like, we all say, oh well, you know, you've got to put Firmino in there. But it's like, I know that he's not the primary scorer in that team, but he plays for a team that scores like a lot. I don't know. I just think, Vardy's doing it in a side where,
Yeah.
yes, everything's geared to getting him to score, but it's also a side that is massively less talented than some of the teams around him.
And also, if he doesn't score, like his decisiveness should not be underestimated.
Yeah.
Like, how can you score that many goals when you're only having between 2 and 2.5 shots a game? It's outrageous.
Yeah. I just think that Liverpool have been so more outstanding than anyone else that you have to have 3 to 4 in the top 5.
In attack, though, I think City have been every bit as good as Liverpool. In fact, they've been slightly better. Like, they've just been like a mess in other regards. Like, so if you want to talk about attackers, then like I do think you've got to talk about Aguero. You've got to talk about Sterling.
Aguero's going at a goal in the Premier League every 73 minutes at the moment as well.
That is nuts.
But
Aguero never gets credit.
But he's also like starting once every 2 games, isn't it, at the moment? Like, I think that would probably cost him. Raheem Sterling's not being at his scintillating best. He's still a very, very good player.
There's been a significant drop-off in Raheem Sterling, though, post-Mikel Arteta. I know it's a kind of a running meme on Twitter, but since Mikel Arteta's left to go to Arsenal, there has been a definite drop-off.
City have just been extremely unfortunate in attack. It's just not their season. Like, it's still a very productive attack, isn't it? I think in terms of is it expected goals, they still have the biggest positive swing.
Yeah, it's weird because in like the last 3 or 4 games, they've turned into like Arsenal in like 06, 07
Just
sort of time when
caught
all they do is trying to pass the ball into the net. I don't know what's going on. Like the amount of open goals City have missed or passed the ball across the box, like the Raheem Sterling chance when he takes it or it rebounds off Tanganga and Hugo Lloris, and then he's in and he tries to square it and it gets blazed. And the one against Man United when David Silva squares it when he could just tap it in.
I imagine when you feel the relentless pressure of Liverpool, like that's probably got something to do with like scatty off finishing, right?
Yeah,
but they were under pressure all last season and like they were fine.
But when it's getting
there's
beyond
less pressure this season in a way because they're like no one expects them to come back.
It's happened a lot though this season.
The biggest gap in
They're
Premier League
finishing.
history.
different sort of mentality to deal with, isn't it? Like being out of your hands, feeling like you're out of control, I guess.
Yeah, I feel like it's happened a lot this season though, where they've had sort of like 22 shots and ended up with 1 goal.
Yeah. Well, the XG against Tottenham over 6 legs, was it 6 legs? Over 2 legs, 6-1.
Yeah.
And they've failed to register.
And like battering United in the cup and losing 1-0. It's happened quite a few times.
Yeah, but I mean sometimes it happens, and I think I wouldn't chalk it up to anything more than what Hamill said. Like it's not their season.
Okay, so there we go. Our selection for the PFA Player of the Year is Kevin De Bruyne. I've got Hendo in the top 5, so has Hamill, but Pat hasn't. Do you guys at home think that Jordan Henderson should win the PFA Player of the Year, or should he even be in the top 5? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Moving on then to quick fire questions. We're going to rattle through quite a few here. The first one, Joshua Gray. Who was the best January transfer no one's talking about?
Oh, good question, but I don't have a great answer. Anyone spring to my view?
Nobody's talking about.
Nobody.
Across the continent, what has happened?
Everybody's talking about everything nowadays.
Everyone's talking about Haaland.
Odriozola.
What to buy
Are
him?
people really talking about that? That was a great move.
Although didn't he break Perisic's foot in training, so not a great start to life.
Really?
Area.
Perisic though, isn't it?
who
Could be
cares?
worse.
He started. He
Could've been a real
started
player.
to play well.
Odriozola's an interesting one, I think. Is there an option to buy there, or is it just a
I don't know.
loan?
But I think it's just a sensible move for everybody. Like he gets to try and play himself into contention for the Euros. Like it means they can leave Kimmich in midfield and play Pavard at centre back. I think it just like helps in so many ways, and he is a Champions League quality fullback that they've got for whatever the loan fee is. Pretty decent.
Yeah.
Bergwijn went a little bit under the radar.
That's a really great signing.
I don't think Spurs fans themselves were that excited.
No.
I think there's a general air of intrigue, but in 16 starts he'd contributed to 15 goals. Just having a look at like some extended highlights from last season, he's got quite a Memphis Depay vibe about him, in that he's a little powerhouse, shots in decent positions. Maybe doesn't play as centrally as he does. He kind of likes to cut in from the left. I think that was at least what he was doing at PSV. But built like a shed with ballerina feet, like, which is quite a unique skill set, isn't it? But
yeah.
Maybe he'll have something to say about Spurs' final place.
I think maybe Sander Berge.
Oh, that's a really good sign.
Yeah, at Sheffield United. I think they've done unbelievably to get him through the door. Chris Wilder has worked some miracles there. Chatting to him behind the scenes, obviously. I think Sander said, didn't he, that the reason he came was Chris Wilder. So Chris Wilder must have told him some brilliant things about Sheffield, because obviously they
Massive
are flying at the
Arsenal
moment, but it's still not the most appealing prospect, is it? You're not going to get the biggest wages, and he was being linked to some much better clubs, let's face it, than Sheffield United, and already has the best chant in the league, doesn't he? So I think Sander Berge is just perfect for that 3-5-2.
And it's great to see the squad excited about the signing, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, like I know the Billy Sharp thing, it's done the rounds, but them signing that calibre of player, like shows how far.
I think he
it's
chucked up
ridiculous.
5 tackles on his debut. It's just like
Against Palace.
Yeah,
Really?
he's just going to be a beast in that midfield of 3-5-2. The next one, Pulkit Goyal says, will Barcelona regret not signing anyone in the window? They did bring in Trincao, didn't they? But he's not joining until the summer from Braga. So a few fans excited about that. But overall, no Suarez replacement. They went after everyone. Shimi Avila they wanted, but couldn't get because of the ACL.
Jimmy Avila, yeah.
They were inquiring about everybody and didn't get anyone.
And Dembele's injured.
Yeah,
Suarez is
Dembele
out.
sadly has, I think, torn the tendon in his thigh. So that's probably like 3-4 months out again.
Yeah.
So what is that? So their attack is going to be Messi plus the kids. And Griezmann.
Yeah,
Messi, Griezmann,
Griezmann,
Ansu Fati, yeah.
and Fati.
Scored 2 on
probably.
his debut, didn't he? Ansu Fati. That's not a bad way to kind of.
Griezmann, I think, will be played through the middle, I
Bench
guess.
yourself.
I mean, there
probably
is
play two
still
up
the.
front, yeah, it's fine.
I still think, I know it's totally anti-Barcelona and it's not how they want to play. Why don't they just go to Setien's 3 at the back system and play Messi and Griezmann as a front two?
Play 3-5-2.
Setien played it to perfection at Betis. Could do the same at Barca, I'm sure. Still has, I've totally forgotten the left wing back's name.
Firpo.
Firpo, who
yeah.
could always use out there, although Jordi Alba obviously still does a job.
Yeah, they've got a
Works
surplus
in the
of central
midfield.
midfielders, haven't they?
Play the 3-5-2. I know that it's anti-Barca, but just get through the period in a 3-5-2, because I think it would be fine.
I think it will actually improve Griezmann as well.
But they definitely should have bought a striker.
Especially when, like, I suppose when you sat your manager, if you're top, I suppose then, because they sacked Valverde when they were top, because it was a stylistic thing, wasn't it? If they then went to just playing winning football, it might be a little bit of an admission that firing him was maybe not the brightest decision at that time.
It's not the Barca way, is it? This Barca way,
know.
the 4-3-3 Cruyff style football. It probably will come back to bite them. And if Real Madrid win the league, people will point to that as the reason they didn't win the league for the first time in a long time. Yeah, I think they'll regret not signing anyone overall Paul Kit. The next one, Michael Mayer says, should Lazio now be considered real contenders in the Serie A title race?
They've got every chance with Ciro Immobile up front in the form that he's in. I think 31 goal contributions in 20 starts is absolutely frightening at the moment. Still think that Ilicic is the best player in Serie A. But Immobile, everything he hits at the moment is going in. Back-to-back 5-1 victories at home. They had a bit of a rough patch away from home where I think they lost to Napoli, drew with Roma, or maybe the other way around, can't quite remember. But just, they might be running a little bit hot. I think expected points has them at like 4, so they're definitely Champions League quality in that league. Atalanta, still the unluckiest side in Serie A, at least by that metric. But Caicedo up front, starting to come good as well. There was Alberto still, I think last year was still the outstanding creator in the calendar year. Got the outstanding goal scorer, the outstanding creator. And yeah, Inzaghi's just got them playing like, they're very competent all over the pitch. I can see them, I can't see them winning it. I can see them finishing 3rd though, and that is a class achievement.
Yeah, I think Inter Milan's winter probably just takes them a level above that, particularly the Christian Eriksen signing. I think the Christian Eriksen signing probably adds 5 to 10 points for Inter that Lazio didn't add in January.
That's big. They've got some very talented midfielders, haven't they, already, into like Barella. I think they were going to ship out Vecino.
But it was a hole in that squad, that creativity in the midfield.
Well, was it Valero? Valero was kind of relied upon to be the creator early doors, but
as long as they can keep Lautaro Martinez and Lukaku fit as well, I think that they'll finish comfortably ahead of Lazio, and then Juventus will win the league still.
Inzaghi's done it with that substantial investment as well, which has been the impressive thing, right? Like, who's been his biggest signing? Can't even think.
Correa costs a little chunk, but
like 15, 16?
I'm not sure really. Like, I mean, on the other hand, they have had investment in that they've refused to sell like assets.
Milinkovic, Savic,
you know, so letting him keep players.
Yeah, 100 mil bids
is another kind of investment, right?
Yeah. The next one from Captain Guna says, was Thomas Tuchel and Mbappe bust up another sign that the Frenchman will leave this summer? Obviously, Kylian Mbappe raging at being substituted again. I don't really have a problem with that. I think fair play to Kylian Mbappe. Yeah.
I have a slight problem with it.
I think that
They've got a lot of fixtures.
he
coming up
totally
in a short
realises
period
that
of
it's a stepping stone club,
Yeah.
and he is by far their best player.
But then
so.
why would you get Arsenal? Like if you know it's a
Because
stepping
that's-
stone, you're going to move on. I don't
think
know
that's
why you'd be
I think that's
pissed
the
off on the side.
full mentality of like a superstar winner
I think
that wants to be on the pitch every minute and score every
It's
goal
the
he possibly
mentality of
can.
somebody who's like a footballer for a reason, though. Like because he's just like not thinking. at
All I
all.
want to do is score goals on this pitch.
Yeah,
I remember
and
quite a
whereas
few
Tuchel was
times
thinking
Cristiano Ronaldo doing that at Manchester United.
Yeah, and it's
having a
embarrassing
bust up
because like
with
Tuchel's
Ferguson.
got to say like we've got 4 games in like 8 days.
Yeah.
Like my concern isn't like whether you score the 6th goal in a game that we're already winning by 5.
100%.
Like it's
I
whether
understand
we win
that.
the Champions
I
League.
understand that, and it must be a pain to manage. But I kind of respect
Yeah.
the passion from Mbappe to.
I think that's
think
an
it's
easy
weird.
get out clause for him. Like there's this. A lot of people saying that to me on Twitter because I tweeted the video and it's like context is everything there, isn't it? The fact they've got 4 games in the next 8 days and then they play Borussia Dortmund in that crunch tie in the Champions League means that yes, with 20 minutes to go at 5-0 up against Montpellier when Montpellier have 10 men, you as a top player should be able to process that like you're being substituted for a reason, like and being unwilling to give your manager that inch in terms of like him not trusting him, not entrusting him to persevere, no, to kind of elongate your season, so to speak, is quite disrespectful to him and Icardi coming on. I think I put in my tweet when I put it out. This isn't Choupo-Moting coming on for you at 0-0 against Marseille in a big derby. Like this is another player who's got an exceptional output who needs to, to be serviced as well, so to speak. But I just think he now thinks he's bigger than the club. Like there's been a change in his demeanour in the last season. Probably got his eyes set on that move to Real Madrid, hasn't he?
I think he's got 2 years left on his contract at the end of this season, so
I've just got
this would be the time to sell him.
I've got horrible images. He's going to go to Man City. I don't know. I've just in my mind as that big squad turnover comes this summer, and they potentially think about moving some of the forwards on. Leroy Sané leaves to come for Leroy Sané leaves for 100. Potentially they think about. I don't think they will, but if the right offers for Sergio Aguero come through the door.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not a particularly fun time to go to Real Madrid.
He improves everyone that he goes to.
Yeah.
Oh, of course, it goes without saying in terms of talent, but does. Like Gabriel Jesus, it feels like they've been moulding him for years. He's been very patient. His output's very good when he's on the pitch.
Sure.
The Manchester City go balls deep for an upset the apple cart when they've got the next number 9 in waiting.
But it's just such a class difference between Mbappe and Gabi, isn't it? I think that it warrants the money. And look at how deep they've always had like a massively deep attack, haven't they? And I think that Pep will be perfectly willing to.
I think you just have to go for him if he's on the market. Like you have to. Like even if you know it's a long shot, you've just got to make a play for him because he's such an unusual talent. Like, it would be quite fun to see him at City. Like the thing is, like I just don't think the Spanish clubs are just that big a draw. Like, do you really want to go to Real Madrid and play in this side? Like, they're not an exciting side to be part of. Do you want to go to Barcelona? The only draw there is to play with Messi, which is a big draw, but you might only get 2-3 years of it.
Did Pep or Klopp put up with him coming off in that manner? Does that happen more than once? Because this has been like a 3rd or 4th time at PSG. Tuchel's actually handled it pretty in diplomatic fashion.
I do think there is a difference though in calibre between Tuchel and Pep. I think that Pep commands more respect than Thomas Tuchel.
And if he sees it as like the move, like if he does see PSG as the stepping stone, then you can imagine him being a bit disdainful of everything, including the manager. Whereas if he goes to the next club, which you assume is going to be like the club, where he's going to kind of be
Go to
a
Cristiano.
genuine star forever,
Right,
go to Ronaldo, Messi level, then you kind of think at that point, like, what are you complaining about, really? Like, there's no reason to kind of burn bridges there in the way that he might not care about burning bridges at PSG.
Do you think it's a little bit more calculated because he has got 2 years left on his contract? As in, like, if you get the opportunity to publicly show
I can't believe that's run down.
disdain, then do it because.
Yeah,
I mean,
of course.
Last year at the was it an award ceremony? Was it a club award ceremony or a league award ceremony? I'm not sure. When he said he's kind of like he wants to take on more responsibility. I can't remember what he said on stage. We discussed it at the time on Continental Club, but it was another one of those things that kind of had everyone questioning the culture.
He's extremely
at PSG.
self-confident. Like I watched the interview about when he was talking about Liverpool, and he was like, "Oh look, when I arrived at PSG, I wasn't a superstar. Now I'm a superstar." And I was just like, as soon as he said, "Now I'm a superstar," I was like, "Yeah." he's going for a big move this summer.
Yeah,
There's
but that's
no
the
way you're going
mentality,
to
like,
stay as a superstar
Yeah.
at PSG.
But where is it in this superstar kind of mindset that you can't be kind of respectful to your manager and teammates?
There's definitely something a little bit calculated there, but I don't know. I just kind of respect it. Let's move on to the next one. This will be very quick. Elliot GX. Which of Europe's top 5 leagues has the most interesting title race? Obviously, the Bundesliga.
Yeah, the Bundesliga.
No other answers there. MAA Gunner says, who will last longer? Oli, Arteta, Lampard, or Mourinho? I don't know why Mourinho's in there. The others I can kind of see, like, because they're all ex players from that club.
I think it'll probably be Arteta and Lampard. I think can probably be there for as long as they want. I think Arteta, the way that Arteta's like changed the side, like it doesn't look like he's not going to be an embarrassment. Like there's still like massive holes in the squad, and they might not be winning games, but they're also not losing them. And I think that like some transfers there will probably make them quite a bit better. Lampard has done more than enough to earn as much time as he wants.
And
really.
the fans are massively pro Lampard.
Like, and there's no transfer window.
He had huge support.
Amazing.
Yeah, I mean, even when he publicly came out and was like raging about that lack of signings, wasn't he? You could see visibly in his press conferences he was trying to basically say, I wanted signings and got none. So I think the fans are very now pro Lampard because of that.
Yeah, so it'll be Oli who goes next, then Mourinho, then Lampard, and then Arteta probably. Unless Arteta gets like an offer to go to a bigger club.
I would agree with that. I think Oli will probably last until the summer. Mourinho will last his 2 years, as he usually does. And then Arteta, Lampard, I think he's quite interchangeable. I'm not sure.
Sure.
Because Arteta might get snapped up if he is really good, and Lampard might just had enough of the Chelsea board at some stage. You never know. Right, the final one then. Personal question. Which one should we select here? Who in the office would win a Hunger Games style tournament? Have we done that before?
I think we might have.
I think we have as well.
Very quickly though, just so buy you some more time to read the questions.
Yeah, go on.
So obviously haven't read until right now. Hunger Games. Who's the most like outdoorsy?
But I don't think it's even necessarily that.
Dougally did.
Sneakiest it is.
Dougie didn't grow up with technology. He might be able to fashion a spear.
You'd be annoying,
Quick
but
time.
I think everyone would.
Everyone would target me.
You.
Yeah, everybody would target me. That would
But
be.
you'd want to be targeted as well.
Yeah.
Sam Obaseki.
But I could make a good
Sam
bow
would
and
die
arrow.
really
I've made a
quickly.
lot of bow and arrows.
Sam would die really quickly.
Obaseki, yeah.
He'd be like, my knee hurts. And
Oh,
everyone
my
would be
eye
like,
hurts.
Shut up.
Yeah. Just kill him.
Ob was one of the first.
Even if he was part of your team, I just.
I reckon McCubbin's probably lived in A Woods for an extended period of time already in his life.
McCubbin would be like the people, there's the couple on Hunger Games, I think it's the first one, when they all they do is camouflage to a tree.
Yeah.
That would be what McCubbin does. Just puts bark on.
Him and James.
Yeah.
Him and Wayne just
just stay there.
camped out against some bark.
Ariana would be quite cutthroat as well.
Yeah.
Ariana would just kill with no worries.
Snelling would die instantly. I think Snelling would step on a mine or something, out of the back, they come out, the thing would land, he'd just step on a mine.
When they're supposed to pull your parachute or something, his just doesn't go.
Oh no!
And Zach wouldn't be able to hide. Zach would just be so easy to spot. It's
like that,
miles away, like a whale in the ocean. You'd be like, there's his hair. Javelin.
You know that scene in Deadpool 2 where they all jump out the plane?
Yeah.
And it's just one parachute doesn't go. That's Snelling. Someone else goes for a fan. That's Obaseki. There's definitely
George.
It's easier to
George
identify
just
who
hits the
dies
ground.
first than who lives.
Okay. That was a pretty good personal question answer, I'll be honest.
Okay, let's move on.
Yeah, well, that's it. That's the end of Sunday
Oh,
Vibes.
right, wow. Okay.
For another week. If you want to get your question answered next week, slam it in the comments below or send it to us on Twitter during the week, usually on a Tuesday or a Wednesday. Hamill, anything to plug?
Go and watch FDPL's latest video on Gareth Bale if you haven't done so already. Actually, it won't be the latest because one would have gone out this Friday. So go and watch the last two. Subscribe to it. Hit up the podcast, Pat, which is on what this week?
This week it is how to fix Atletico Madrid and West Ham for some reason.
Yeah, totally random combo there. But anyway, thanks very much for watching. Auf Wiedersehen.